Shoot, almost let the time fly right on by, didn't I? Let me turn off Fox in the background. Yeah, I watch Fox. I need to know what's going on that side of the world. I know I love poking fun at the five. Greg Gutfeld, the arrogant. that's what I'm going to call him. Greg Gutfeld, the arrogant one. Okay, let me see. Are all my lights on? No, got one more light to turn on here. Set of lights. There. Maybe that'll help. Yeah, a little bit. Okay. So anyway, I hope everyone's had a really good day. It has been a long one. I am extremely tired. I've been up and down all day since probably about, let's say 11:30 last night. So it's been good though, because I've had some really good laughs, some good time with everything. And a friend of mine from the Washington Post sent me a story from the New York Times called Civility. Let me see, what was it called? Civility something. I can't think of the name. I'm so tired. I've been falling asleep just walking around the house. Oh. But anyway, it was written by Roxane, and it was written yesterday. It was a really good article. It was a thought-provoking article by her, talking about civility and how it's a challenge for people in these days and times, given that the world seems to be just focused on amplifying all the negativity and amplifying all of the bad things and putting bullseyes on people's backs and on their organizations and businesses. And I will call out anyone on any side, every side, if you're threatening law enforcement or ICE or anything like that. Don't tell me about it. Don't get me involved in your conversation, because this hillbilly is going to let everybody know. I will absolutely spread it to the top of the mountain and run it up the highest flagpole. Because to do such things is morally and ethically wrong, period. I don't care who it is you're targeting. I don't care if the person has called you the most vile things in the world. They're entitled to those beliefs. They're entitled to act upon those beliefs in a way that one doesn't threaten anyone and actually cause harm to other people, which it's hard to differentiate what that might actually mean, because the terrorism that many of us face is more stochastic, meaning that it's, words can hurt. Words do hurt. And we're seeing a lot of that. And when people say things over on the left that targets people on the right, or targets ICE, or targets police, or does anything like that, and when the right targets people like me, a trans person on the left, and you start villainizing me and those like me, and you dehumanize us, what you're doing is putting a target on our backs. That's stochastic terrorism. Words can lead others to act upon and act in a violent way against those people you have targeted with your words, but it gives you the ability to deny any kind of accountability and responsibility for it. That's what stochastic terrorism is all about, folks. If you can rile up your base to go out there and, storm the Capitol, if you can rile them up, then what you have done is stochastic terrorism. In other words, it gives you an ability to say, I didn't tell them to go do that. All you did was you stirred it up a little bit, you stirred the pot, and you put a target on a certain other group of people who you don't like or you think did something that you don't agree with. And then you can sit back and watch. I didn't do that. That's like Nero going, sitting back watching Rome burn. And he's the one who kind of set it on fire. And he's going, See, that's stochastic terrorism. And we're seeing an awful lot of that. We're seeing people even deny that they're doing it. The left does it against ICE and against anyone in the world who actually disagrees with them. The left does it well. But let me clearly state, the right does it well too. And as a matter of fact, if you look at any of the statistics out there, and I know people don't care about numbers, they don't care about the science, they don't care about anything that actually makes any sense in that regard. They've got their own opinions on these things. But the science and the statistics actually say that the most violent side of the arguments and of any kind of these violent crimes and violent actions is coming from the right side of the political spectrum. Yes, there are stupid people on the left doing the same kind of thing. And what we're seeing is, and I heard this today from one of the acting directors of the FBI from down there in Dallas, Texas, standing outside that or standing near that ICE facility. He said there's been 1,000% increase in the violent acts against ICE over the past month or so, or maybe 6 months or so. And he said all because of the words of people who put a target on ICE people, on ICE operatives and officers and things like that. But he didn't tell you what that 1,000% means. You can take any set of numbers and make it have 1,000% increase. For instance, to get to 1,000% increase, let's say you have only 5 actual problems initially prior to this situation, and this time around you got 50. That's 1,000% increase, roughly. That's 1,000% increase. But in violent crime statistics and violent crime numbers, if you're going out there and say there's been 1,000% increase in trans violence over the past several months, past several, I don't know, half a year, that may very well be true. They only started out with like 10, maybe 5 or whatever, maybe 1 or 2 before this period of time, but 1,000% increase puts it up there to, I don't know, 20. And yeah, that's a big increase, but there are how many violent crimes enacted every year in this country? How many? There's certainly more than 2 or 3. There's certainly more than 20 or 30. And you're blaming transgender people for an increase in violence. And basically, they're saying, oh, it's 1,000% increase in violence coming from that population of people right there. What were the actual numbers? Oh, there were only 20 over 20 years, but it's 1,000% increase from what it was before that. When in fact, there are literally thousands and thousands of thousands of violent crimes that have been committed since then, like 25 million since then. People try to fool you with their statistics. People try to fool you with those numbers and make you think that one thing is true when it's not true in fact. But here's the deal. Here's the deal about all that. It does not matter what those numbers say. It does not matter what the math says. Why? It takes one poster child who is being a freaking idiot out there to become the poster child for the whole community. Something they can use to label the whole community. And that's another form of stochastic terrorism. When you apply a label that applies only to 20, but you decide it's got to be the whole population of that group of people, they're all bad. Let's go round them up, lock them up, take away their ability to communicate, and send them into insane asylums because, 20 out of 1.5 million, that's a big thing to deal with. I mean, right? But they take that one bad apple, that one person I would call out in a heartbeat if I knew who they were beforehand. They take that one bad apple and make them the poster child representing the entire population of trans people in the country. You got to know that's wrong. You got to know that that's crazy. You got to know that that is what's called stochastic terrorism. They're actually over here saying this applies to the whole population and we've got to do something about it. And then when somebody does act upon that, I didn't tell them to go do that. I didn't talk about that at all. I didn't tell them to go out there and kill a bunch of people. The left is at fault for that too, but the left doesn't have, for some reason, the left doesn't focus on those one individuals. They focus on the numbers and the science and the reason and the rationality, and it gets them nowhere because they have no ability to see that they fail at the communications part. Regardless of how much money is being spent there, they have failed at the communication part of letting people know that this is not true in a way that people can understand. I hope somebody else gets that phone call because I can't get it. So that's what's going on, folks. You try to label an entire population of trans people. There's 1.5 million of us, 1.6 million of us in this country, and you're saying, oh, those 20 people, they represent the entire population. We've got to do something about that. We've got to do something now. We've got to round them up, put them in insane asylum, prevent their ability to communicate, stop them from talking to people, take them off the internet. Don't let them communicate with anyone out there. And basically what we're doing is saying the whole community is bad because of one bad apple. when in fact that is not the case. What's happening with us over on the left side of this fence? What's happening here? We're saying that that one bad apple, that one bad ICE officer who is going around and who plowed down that civilian standing there in protest of him, in protest of what he was doing. And that ICE officer runs over there and just pushes that person to the ground without any provocation other than the words or the banner or the poster that person was carrying. And we're saying ICE is bad. They're rounding up people. Look, they're rounding up people who entered this country illegally. They're rounding up those people, and true, they make a lot of mistakes because you got a lot of amateurs on the team right now. They're bringing them all in from all kinds of corners of this world. So it's really a big, big deal. Hold on one second there while you're watching this for a second. Hey, Brittany, I'm live. Can you call back later?
Yeah.
Bye. All right, so that's what we have right now. We have people who are using their words as a weapon against entire populations of people. It comes from the left, it comes from the right. It's not a both sides-ism kind of thing either. It's that one side sees one thing, one bad apple, and they amplify that and make them the poster child for the entire community. We are seeing that. We know that. That's the way it's been working. They'll take one of 20 over the past 20 years or 10 over the past couple of months or whatever, 5, 3, whatever, whoever it is, and then try to paint the entire trans community as if they are the same. Stochastic terrorism, that puts off the blame. That makes them feel less accountable when somebody goes out and actually acts up on that. When the left says that it's ICE, anti-ICE, they're calling everybody fascists and Nazis and all this kind of thing, and I have done that. And there are people that it actually does fit to by the strict definition of those words, by the strict categorization of what it means to be those things. There are people who know that they are fascist, by the way, like Matt Walsh. He has the strength of character to know exactly who he is, and he admits it, and he will tell you that he's a theocratic fascist. It's on his bio, on his X page, on his Twitter page. Most of the other people who are yelling and screaming about being called fascist and Nazis, they are, but they don't have the guts to be as truthful as Matt is. That's the truth of the matter. But yes, we can abuse that, and we can call the whole population of people over on the right that, and the entire group of ICE, the entire group of law enforcement, we can label them with all of these labels like that, and it not be true for the entirety of that group. We become the ones promoting the stochastic terrorism in that case. That's what's happening right now. That's what happened in Dallas, where that young man, 29-year-old kid, I call him a kid because that's what he exactly is to me, a kid. All of my children are older than him, a lot older than him, fell for the stochastic terrorism that's being promoted by the left in identifying all of the ICE law enforcement officers as being evil and bad and fascist and Nazis and all kinds of stuff like that. And when in fact, that is not the case. You cannot generalize those labels to the entire population. We know there are people who are within those populations, are those things, just as there are idiots over here on the left who are in fact those things. But the moment we start taking some of those labels and applying it to the entire population of people, like saying that all trans people are violent and need to be locked up. That's what Matt's been saying, by the way, Matt Walsh. That's what Frank Turco or whatever his freaking name is have been saying. That's what Andy Neg, N-G-Y, however you pronounce his last name, Gen, something like that. I don't know, but Andy's been saying that. He's had a voice on a lot of the platforms on the right. He's saying those things about trans people, about minority populations in this country. And yes, he was brutalized years ago, but he's still holding on to that and blaming everyone about it. That's the same thing with this Chloe Cole person who detransitioned. Who in their right mind would think that, who would do this? Who would say that because I had a bad experience, because I have a bad experience of what happened in my life with my transition, and that something happened to me in a horrible way, Why would anyone think that that should actually apply to the entire population and not just to that specific case? Why? I wish her well. I'm sorry that she went through those kind of things and had such a bad experience in the transition of her life. But I can tell you, I didn't. I can tell you that anyone else in this community, the vast majority of us, we didn't have an experience like that. We did not experience it that way. But yet, to generalize her experience to the entire population is wrong. But that's what's happening, though, whenever these people write these laws like that. They're saying, oh, look at Chloe. She was hurt. She was abused, and people denied her the due process of giving her the information that she needed to have to make a good decision, and she was still too young to make a good decision. She was failed along the way. People failed her along the way. But that experience does not apply to all trans people or all trans kids. It does not apply. It's unrealistic to say that. It is not rational. It is illogical to make that kind of leap. Her story is her story, and her story alone. She's entitled to that story. She's entitled to detransition if she wants to. That's fine. This is not an endpoint. This is a journey. So she's entitled to that. But we're not entitled to take that one example and go out here and put a target on somebody else's back on ice, like the young man did down in Dallas. That is horrible. Civility is a difficult thing to deal with because incivility is easier. Roxane Gay was arguing that incivility is probably the likely outcome of everything that we are ever going to do because we don't seem to be able to work through it. She was saying something about family, that there are family members of hers who disagree with her life and who she is. So she's cut them out because she doesn't want to have to deal with that kind of vitriol that she has to deal with because of that. I get it. But there's a better way. There is a better way. Sit down at that darn table and ask for the salt. Ask for the bread. Ask to have just sit down and ask for the butter, maybe. Start finding a way to talk to each other. You will never agree on everything, but that's the only way I can think of. I love my country and I'm going to defend it in every way I possibly can. I love my family. And there's not a one in this house who voted for anything on the side that I would have voted for. But I'm not going to hold that against them. Not at all. Why would I? All I want to do is sit down and, like I had a reheated Boy Scout meal this evening. I gave everybody a reheated Boy Scout meal that I made last night. Some really good stuff. A hobo meal. They call it sometimes a hobo meal. But Dad taught that to us probably 50 years ago, more than that, 55 years ago in this family. And we've carried it forward. It's in my family. My 4 kids, they know all about the Boy Scout meal. Whenever I say, it's time for the Boy Scout meal, everybody comes running to the table. Here in this household, where I am the only person who would have who did vote for Kamala Harris, because I knew that Trump was a con man in my understanding of the way world works, because he was bad news for people like me. Witnessed what's going on now. Now, let me just say this. There's a lot of things that I happen to agree with Trump on. The world is not black and white. I can sit down and have a decent piece of bread and butter and just have a conversation around the salt or the seasoning that's going on my food, or ask for a salad across the table from someone who disagrees with me. But guess what's going to happen? They're going to hand me whatever it is I asked for. I'm going to hand them whatever they asked for. We're going to sit there and converse. We're not going to spend our time talking about the things that divide us. We're not going to put up a big billboard that says, but you said this about that person over there, and you made it the whole thing for the whole community. No. Nope, 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 nope. We're not doing that. Love has to win first. And that's the key to getting past this article that Roxanne Gay wrote for the New York Times. That's the key to this. As a caregiver right here in this house for my mom and brother and sister, I get up every morning. My goal is to make sure that their medicines are properly administered, that their vitals are checked if they need to be checked. I make sure they get breakfast. I check the laundry. I go do the laundry. I clean up anything that needs to be cleaned up. I try to take care of everything I can, and some things I end up doing at night. Sometimes I am like today. I'm just flat worn out. I've been up just about for 18 hours, it feels like. Because I'll tell you, my mom showed up in the middle of the night. She came knocking on the door back here in the back room where I stay. She just wanted somebody to talk to. She wanted some company. And I just laid down. Did I turn her away? No. Did I turn her away because she supports Trump? Hell no. Why would I? That's my mom we're talking about. My sister who's disabled. There's a buzzer that's on my wall back here, an alarm thing that goes from mom's room and my sister's room, and it's just hardwired into this house. It's part of this house. So whenever they press the button, I go check on them to make sure they're all right. My sister has learned, though, to press it for, I don't know, she needs the garbage can moved. It's happened a lot. She's really learned how to do that. She's educationally and physically disabled. She gets around in her wheelchair. She goes, does some dishes for me every now and then. Well, that means I rinse them out and put them in a stack in a nice, neat order and put them there in the sink. And then I'll go back in and put a little soap in the water and rinse them off and put them up. Then I go fold laundry, and then I go wash the clothes. Laundry is one of the biggest events around here. You know why? Because my sister is meticulously clean with her own body. She makes sure, every night, I bet you there's 10 towels used in the house. 5 to 10, depending. Every face towel and every washcloth she can get her hands on, she's got them wet in the shower, soaking wet. But she does organize them, though. They're hanging on the back of a chair. They're either hanging on a bar or something like that. They're neatly positioned, and all I have to do is just grab them and take them into the laundry room and go start this whole process over each and every day. Am I going to tell her no because she is a huge Jesse Water fan? No. Or that she supports Trump? No. What I have done and what I will do is I'll go down to the Trump Superstore down there at I-40 and I-75 just west of Knoxville, past the Brown Squirrel going out towards Nashville, right there at the intersection where you're turning down toward Chattanooga. That one, I-75 and 40 right there. Well, right there at that intersection, there's a huge store. It's called the Trump Superstore, or it was there this past summer. And you can well imagine I had a lot of fun going into that store. There's a video clip of it over on my YouTube channel, I think. It would have been sometime around in May of 2025 when my granddaughter graduated high school out in Texas, in Killeen, Texas. I can't believe I got a granddaughter who's graduated. Who has graduated? I'll have 2 more grandsons, 2 more grandchildren graduating this coming year in the spring of 2026. That'll be 3 grandkids out of high school. And no, I don't feel young about that. But do they go around holding up big billboards saying, Cassandra's associated with all of those trans people out there, and we blame her for everything because you got that one idiot who shot up and killed somebody out there, or shot up a school, or was associated with a person who killed Charlie Kirk, or whatever. No, they're not going to hold me accountable and responsible for the acts of an idiot. I wouldn't expect that from the right. I don't expect that from the left. And yeah, I get animated about all this. I do. So there's one thing I will close out with, because I've already been at it for 25 minutes now. It's surprising to me that most people here, right here in these mountains, right here where, J.D. Vance has family here, we're actually related. Yeah, we are. And here's something else. My ex-wife and my children, all four of my children and all of my grandkids, they're related to Joseph Robinette Biden. You know, the one who has the self-portrait on the inside of the White House today. Did you see that thing? That is hilarious as freaking can be. You got these pictures, these photographs of the presidents down this hallway, and the one up there for Biden is an auto pen. Whoever thought of that and put that up there, framed it up to put it with the other presidents, is like, oh my God, that's hilarious. Don't take offense at every darn little thing out there. Come on, grow up, folks. Come on. We're not petty. Well, no. That's what Greg Gutfield says. We all ought to be petty. So, yeah, that was during the show tonight. So I started tagging him in everything I could think of over on X that was petty. Like, oh, I'm just calling you one arrogant SOB there, Greg. You know, you're just a little man, probably nothing more than a furry lover and a lady boy at one point in your past. Yeah, those are petty things. The thing that's not petty, though, is when you use stochastic terrorism, you use your words to target someone you don't like or a group you don't like the left has been targeting ICE, and like the right has been targeting trans people. Both are wrong. Let's see what the chat box down here has to say. I don't know who says what. La, 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 la. It's all transgenders. Follow me. Go up here with Jamie. Okay. All right. Yeah. All transgender. And that you can't put a plural on. Can I be nitpicky here? Transgender people. Transgenders is what I see from people who want to slur us. I'm sorry, Jamie. It's not a verb. It's a noun or an adjective, but not a verb. I haven't been transgendered. Junia says there were 17,429 gun deaths last year. Yep. And Jamie says Democratic lawmakers are fence sitters watching us get stoned. Yeah. Agree with that. They probably are. I mean, they're sitting there. They're protecting their own political position at our expense. Don't expect them to change. Don't expect them to come falling off that fence because, if you try to push them, there's a 50-50 chance that they'll land on one side that you don't want them on. So I'm just going to let them sit on that fence. I'm afraid of where they might land. Okay. 17,429 deaths last year and 10,920 gun deaths so far this year. Got it. One transgender person violent action equals 50 bazillion on Fox News. Yeah. And that makes it a 1,000,000% increase in violence coming from that one particular group because it went from 1 to 50 bazillion. All in the space of like, I don't know, 2 days. Anyway. Oh, goodness. Okay, come on with it, people. Let's see. Bravo for you. I wish I could have had that with my sister and cousin. Both seem to be okay with me putting me in a sanitarium to get electroshock therapy. Yeah, and that's unfortunate. I'm so sorry about that. There's a lot of people out there like that. But you know what I'm discovering back here in the hills, though? The first thing is that most of the people here are live and let live kind of people. The only ones I have any kind of real concern about would be my family, like cousins and first and second cousins, people like that, which means just about everybody. No. But what I've discovered is since I came back like in December of 2023 to take care of family, they've been slowly migrating in. And they're saying, I'm going to come over and check on your mom and your brother and sister and see how everybody's doing. But in reality, what happens is they come over here and they just want to see me. So what do? They just want to check on me to make sure that I don't know what it is. I guess they just want to see. They're voyeurs or something. So what I do is I go, Hold on a second. I got to pull this down here a little bit more. Oh, how's that? Does that work? But I found that happens a lot. They're sneaking in ever so often just to see what's going on, with me, ostensibly to see mom and everybody. But hey, really, it's not really about that, is it? But they've been coming back more, and people engage more, and we're actually having decent conversations. And had a caregiver come in today. It was a physical therapist came in today, and I told her we were talking about different things in which I'm prone to do. So I asked her, we were talking about the Boy Scout meal. She had fixed stuff like that, and she said she had put it into a pocket. So I told her the story of me visiting the VA Medical Center in Iron Mountain, Michigan. It's way up there. It's right on the border with Michigan and Wisconsin. You drive across a bridge and you're in Michigan, and that's also Iron Mountain, Michigan, and you're on the other side in this little town in Wisconsin. I don't remember the name of that one. It's a sleepy town of Iron Mountain, Michigan, really, even though it's in Wisconsin. But anyway, so it's really close to the Canadian border. It's not very far at all from there. And originally the miners, they were iron ore miners up in there, and they would go underground with their equipment to take all the veggies or fruit or pudding or any kind of thing that they wanted to have with them. And they had these little bread pocket things that they would wrap them up into. It was a lot like a Hot Pocket kind of thing situation, but they made them underground on these pieces of mining equipment because the equipment was so hot. You could set it on top of there, make it, fold it all together, and then you'd have a decent little meal that's hot meal. But they had a very specific name for it. And they even had restaurants in town whose sole purpose was to sell this type of miner originated food as an item that became known for Iron Mountain, Michigan. And the VA people were telling me, you need to go out in town and make sure you get some of those pasties out there, because that's what we called them here. They put all that stuff in there. And I looked at them, and I told this girl who was here today, the physical therapist girl, I said, hey, I don't know about, this is what I told the people in Iron Mountain, Michigan. I said, I have a completely different perspective of what a pasty is. Yeah, pasty. Hurley, Wisconsin. Oh, that's the one across the one. Yeah, you know about it already, Jamie. Hurley. Oh my God. Iron Mountain, Michigan. They told me to go to a pasty restaurant. It was right outside of the VA facility. I mean, you come out the door, it's in an area like a big, large parking lot kind of like thing. I came out of there, and lo and behold, right there on the corner on the main little drag going through town was a pasty restaurant. So I ordered a chocolate pudding one and ate that. And I have to tell you that, it must have been acquired taste because I wasn't quite impressed with that pasty. But probably it's just because I had a different vision in my head of what that pasty actually meant to me. The physical therapist caught it immediately. My brother's looking at me like, what are you talking about? Pass the salt, people. Pass the salt.